So I hope you guys get an idea what I'm talking about when I talk about my horse's act. A good hour here, in a good 30 minutes, I'll shut this camera off. There's not that much to talk. I pretty much delved in depth about everything I can talk from my book. There's a few things I left out, but pretty much horse's X. What is horse's X? It is a horse race tradition in Zanus. So all of Zanus gathers at the stadium for horse's X. That's what. That's what. That's a tradition. It's a tradition in Zanus, obviously. Tradition in Zanus. So before I talk about the Wall of Zanus, I'm going to talk about a few characters who I did not mention in my past videos. Okay, so you have Patrice, you have Defias. Who else did I not mention? These are pretty much the only people I haven't mentioned. I've mentioned everyone else. You have Patrice, you have Defias. Let's see. So who is Patrice? These are all minor. Patrice and Defias these are all minor characters. I'm gonna say minor here. They're all minor characters. So who is Patrice? He is the father of Lithius. So Lithius is Tachys' half sister. Well, I mean, if Tachys the first is Sarah's husband, and how the heck can Patrice be what? Be Lithius' father? Again, I don't want to spoil the story. You'll find out when you read the book. So who's Patrice? He is the father of Lithius, obviously. He is not a part of the royal bloodline. I'll say that. He is not a part of the royal bloodline. I'll say that. I don't want to spoil the story. You'll find out when you read the book. His character I don't have that much character development with Patrice. He's a very minor character, but he's the father of Lithius. He is not a part of the royal what? Royal bloodline. Bloodline or family. I'm gonna say that. And he's the father of Lithius. I don't want to say anything else. I don't want to spoil the story for you. So okay, if Patrice is the father of Lithius and Tachys the first is Sarah's husband, then how does that work? How does that work with Patrice being Lithius' father? Again, you'll find out when we read. I don't want to spoil the story for you. So Patrice, who is Patrice? He is the father of Lithius. He is not a part of the royal bloodline or family. He's not a part of the royal family, and he's not a part of the royal bloodline. And I don't want to spoil the story for you. You'll find out that when you read the book. Oh yeah, he is a white man, obviously, because Lithius is half what? Lithius, I want Lithius to be half black, half white. So he is a white man, obviously. I'll say that. He's a white male, obviously. And he's not part of the royal line, obviously. So Tachys and all of them, they're all black, obviously. But Patrice is a white man, so Lithius is half black, half white. I don't explain Patrice's color. Right? In the movie, I want Patrice to be white. I want Lithius to be half black, half white. It makes it more unique, obviously. Right? Again, these are all very minor characters. Who is Defias? Right? He is what? He is a master wolf. I'll say that he's a master wolf, obviously. He is what? A member of the what? He's a very minor character. He's a member of what? Of Aratat's army, obviously. Right? He is responsible for what? For one of the land markings. So I'm going to say one of the land markings. Ivan, which land? I don't want to spoil the story for you. You'll find out when you read the book. Ivan, what the heck is a land marking? Again, I don't want to spoil the story for you. You'll find out when you read the book. So who is Defias? He's a master wolf, obviously. He's evil too, obviously, right? He is evil. He hates Tachys, because they all hate Tachys. He hates Tachys. Remember, they all hate Tachys. So who is Defias? He is a master wolf. He is a member of Aratat's army. He is responsible for one of the land markings. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to spoil the story for you. You'll find out with that what a land marking is, obviously. He is evil, obviously, and he hates Tachys, obviously. And he's a very minor character. You only see him in volume 1. Volume 1 in a couple scenes. He's a very minor character. So who is Defias? Right? He is a master wolf. He is a member of Aratat's army, pretty much, and he is responsible for one of the land markings in the south. I won't spoil the story. You're following that when you read the book. He is evil and he hates tactics, obviously. He is powerful too. He's also powerful. He's a powerful wolf, obviously. He is powerful, obviously. He's a badass fighter. Badass fighter. I'll say that. See what I'm saying here? So the Phias, he's a master wolf. He's a member of Aratat's army. He's responsible for one of the land markings. He is evil. He hates Tactius. They all hate Tactius with him. Remember, the wolves hate Tactius. All the demonic cursed beings, they all hate Tactius. Why do they all hate Tactius? You'll find out when we look at it. It's almost supposed to show for it. And hence why you have some Jesus symbolism. It's because in the Bible, all the demonic forces, they hated Jesus so much they killed him, obviously. You have some similarity with that for Tactius, obviously. Because Tactius, I don't want to spoil so for you. They all hate Tactius so much. So he is a master wolf. He is a member of the Aratat's army. He's responsible for one of the land markings. He's evil. He hates Tactius, and he's also powerful. He's a badass fighter. You'll find out what I mean by that when you read Volume 1. And he's responsible for one of the land markings. I won't tell you which land he marked, but he's responsible for one of the land markings. He led the charge in the land markings for one of the lands in the south. I'll say this before I talk about the Walls of Zaynus, obviously, right? Yeah, my purple marker ran out. The only one that works pretty well is my green, orange, and red marker. All my markers are ran out, man. I might have to buy a new pack or something like that, man. This is crazy. There's no point in me buying new packs. I only have a few videos left, okay? I'll say this. The Southerns and wolves. I'll say this. The wolves have not marked the southern lands until Tactius' generation. Tactius' second generation. See what I'm saying here? So for 1,000 years, so even though the wolves hate the humans, this goes back to Osiris and Sapphius. The wolves have a hatred for the humans, yes, in the south. The wolves can kill the south, but for 1,000 years, the wolves have not marked the southern lands, obviously. Have not marked the southern lands until Tactius' second generation. So for 1,000 years, the wolves of Barak, they what? Yes, they killed some humans over the years, but the only war that was going on over thousands of years is between the Northerns, the Zayn army, obviously, and the wolves, obviously, and some of the bats. Whereas the Southerns who live in the south, the wolves have not touched the lands. They have not marked the lands, obviously. They have not marked the lands until Tactius' second generation. So when the moment Tactius was born, during that generation, that was when the wolves decided to mark the south, mark the lands. I don't want to spoil the story for you. Why? What the heck is a land marking? You'll see what I mean, what a land marking is. So the wolves have not marked the southern lands until Tactius' second generation. Because what? Because Tactius, the second generation, is what? Is the time, obviously. That's all I'm going to say, is the time. Is the time, that's all I'm going to say. So just because Tactius' generation is a unique generation, it's a lucky generation, that's when what? That's finally when the wolves decided to mark the southern lands. It wasn't until Tactius' second generation. So for 1,000 years, the wolves left the Southerns alone. They haven't touched. They haven't even went to the lands. Obviously, it's not until Tactius was born. That was when what? Aratat and all them decided to mark the land. You have something called the land markings. So for 1,000 years, the Southerns lived at peace in the south without the wolves worrying about. The Southerns worry about the wolves, obviously, but the wolves haven't marked the lands until Tactius' second generation, obviously. Because Barak all the lands are about a day's journey away from each other. So Cyrus is a good Barak to Cyrus and Cyrus is a good day's journey. a day's journey. So it's a long journey, obviously, but like, you know what I'm saying? The walls cannot mark the southern lands until Tacitus II's generation. You have to remember that. Otherwise, you can get confused. Like, I don't understand. Yeah, for 1,000 years, the wolves and the Southerns, they pretty much lived at peace, pretty much. Well, they didn't live at peace because if a wolf sees a human, they'll kill a human. Obviously, my point is the wolves never marked the land until what? Until what? Until Tacitus II's generation, obviously. And Cassius talks about this in Volume 1. He talks about how the wolves are capable of marking lands and all that stuff. You'll see what I mean. Ivan, what the heck is land marking? You'll find out what I mean with that when you read the story. I don't want to spoil the story for you. You'll find out what I mean with that when I read the story when I talk about land markings, obviously. Right? In a good 20 minutes, I'll end the video here because there's nothing else. There's not much to talk about for this video. I pretty much delved in depth about my book, Wall of Zanus. I don't want to delve too much in depth without I don't want to spoil the story for you. Oh, I'll say this, right? You have a what? A subplot romance. Romance with what? You have a romance with Belle and Papyri, obviously. I won't spoil the story for you. Belle and Papyri, you have Tactius and Lithia. And you have Mary and Cornelius. So you have a subplot of romance with Belle and Papyri, Tactius and Lithia, Mary and Cornelius. You also have Maramis and Lithius, obviously. Right. And you also have Patrice and Sarah. But I don't want to spoil the story. You have Patrice. Well, no, Patrice and Sarah is not really romance. It's not romance. Patrice and Sarah is not romance. It's just fun sex. Right, so you have a subplot romance with Belle and Papyri. I don't want to spoil the story. You'll find me when you read the book. You have Tactius and Lithia, obviously. You have Mary and Cornelius. You also have Maramis and Lithius. Ivan, Maramis is so much older than Lithius. Yeah, I know, but there's a subplot of romance with Maramis and Lithius, obviously. In the book. Obviously. Thought I should mention that. Right? Let's say this. So Maramis, even my red marker's running out. What's going on here, man? So Maramis, he is what? He is the captain of what? Of the archers and wall guards. The wall guards are the what? Are the inside watchers, obviously. Right? They're the inside watchers, whereas the eagles are the outside watchers. Remember that. So Maramis, he's the captain of the archers and wall guards, who are the inside watchers, obviously. And Cassius, so this is what? There's 2,500 archers in the army. And Maramis is the captain of them. Cassius is what? He is the general. The general of the entire army. General of the what? Of the entire Zanian army. See what I'm saying here? And there's 15,000, including the archers, 15,000 what? 15,000 people in the army. And Cassius is a general. He's the general of the entire Zanian army. And Maramis is the captain of the archers and the wall guards. So you have the archers, 2,500 archers. Maramis is the captain of them. And he's also the captain of the wall guards who will watch outside the walls. You have these wall guards who have arrows. The reason why do they have wall guards? You have aratat's crows, obviously. I don't want to spoil the story, but you have aratat's crows who can roam to Zanus and they can kill people. So you have the wall guards who keep watch for the crows. They also keep watch for the wolves and all that stuff too. They keep watch for any intruder, obviously. And they're archers. So he's a captain of the archers and wall guards, who are known as the inside watchers. There's 2,500 archers. And Cassius is a general of the entire Zane army. And there's 15,000 men, including the 25. There's 13,500 melees in the Zane army, and you have 2,500 archers who are Meramis's men, and the Cassius is the general of the entire Zayn army. The entire Zayn army, obviously. Right? And they're all trained what? The army, they are all trained in Zayn arts, obviously. They are all trained in what? In the Zanian arts. The entire army is all trained in Zayn arts. Meramis and Cassius train what? They train the army in what? In the Zanian arts. Cassius and Meramis are the teachers. Meramis and Cassius train the army in the Zanian arts. They're the ones. Cassius and Meramis are the ones who train Tacitonius and Tactius as kids, obviously. So you'll see what I mean by that. So you have the men in the army. The men in the army have trained in the Zanian arts, obviously. And you also have the young students who when Tactius is a kid, Meramis and Cassius are training all these kids, and they also train Tacitonius and Tactius in the Zanian arts. So Meramis and Cassius train the army in the Zanian arts. They train the students. They train the students who grow up, who fight in the army, obviously. Because when Tactius is old, he's like 30 years old. It starts off with Tactius as a kid, and then transfers 20 years later, and he's an adult. All those young kids who trained when Tactius and Tacitonius were kids, they all end up what? They all end up being a part of the Zayn army, obviously. So Meramis and Cassius train the students in the Zayn arts. You'll follow my with that when you read what? When you read volume 1. Obviously, with Tacitonius and what? And Tactius. Let me get this. So Meramis, he's the captain of the archers and wall guards, who are the inside watchers. So the wall guards are the inside watchers, and the eagles are the outside watchers. Remember that, obviously. So there's 2,500 archers, and Meramis is the captain of them. And there's 15,000 men in the Zayn army, and Cassius is the general of the entire army. And they are all trained in the Zayn arts, obviously. Meramis and Cassius train the students in the Zayn arts. Obviously, train the young kids and train them. You know how in Star Wars you have what? You have younglings. Think of something like that for the Zayn arts. Meramis and Cassius, they train all these young kids in Zayn arts when Tacitonius and Tactius are young kids. Obviously. I'll say this. Let's talk about the Wall of Zanus. All my markers are ran out, man. I almost went on here. The Wall of Zanus, okay? Let's talk about the Wall of Zanus. My markers are all running out. What's going on here, man? I don't want to use green because last time I used green, you couldn't see it well. All my markers are ran out. What's going on here? I'll try black again. Give me a second. Right? Yeah. Yeah, the Wall of Zanus, obviously. So what is the wall? So the Wall of Zanus is a wall that surrounds Zanus. So it surrounds Zanus, obviously. It surrounds Zanus, the entire land of Zanus, obviously. Right? It is a huge, what? 100 plus feet wall. Right? It was built to protect Zanians. To protect the Zanians from what? From the wolves. From the wolves. To protect the Zanians from the wolves. The wolves are demons, obviously. So it was built to protect the Zanians from the wolves as well. But the bats are pretty much extinct. The bats are cursed and they're extinct. They live in the mountains. I don't want to spoil the story for you. But it's pretty much built to protect the Zanians from the wolves and what? And dangerous animals, obviously. Dangerous animals. Dangerous animals in the south, obviously. Aratat spies. Well, it doesn't protect them from Aratat spies. Hence why they have inside watchers, because the crows can just fly over the wall. But the wall was built The wall was built to protect the Xanus from the wolves, obviously, as well as dangerous animals in the south. And the inside watchers are there to protect the Xanus from Aratat's crows, as well as the eagles. The eagles are there to protect the Xanus from Aratat's crows, Aratat's spies, as well as wild animals and wild crows and all that stuff. Obviously. Right, so it's a wall that surrounds Xanus. It is a huge 100 feet wall. It was built to protect the Xanus from the wolves and dangerous animals in the south, obviously. Because you also have dangerous animals in the south. You have the wild ravens, you have the wild crows that can kill humans. But the wall guards are mainly there to protect, to keep watch for the wolves and Aratat spies. Whereas the wild animals, they can roam around Xanus, obviously. They can roam around Xanus. They even roam. You'll find out that when you read the book, when they roam around Xanus. The cursed animals in the south. Because the animals in the north are not cursed. The stags in the north are not cursed, obviously. But the ones in the south have disfigured faces and all stuff. They're cursed. You'll find out that when Patrice leaves the walls. I won't spoil so for you in the end of volume 1. You have those cursed animals. So the Wall of Zaynus is a wall that surrounds Xanus. It is a huge 100 feet wall. It was built to protect the Xanus from the wolves and dangerous animals in the south. Obviously. Let's talk about law here. I'll talk about law. Yeah, my markers are all running out, man. This is really, really pissing me off, man. All my markers are not working. I don't know what's going on. I have to use my orange one. The orange is the only one that works right now. Or the green, but you might not see green. That's the thing, though. Last time I used green, you couldn't see it well. My markers are all ran out, man. Obviously. Let's talk about law. Let's talk about law in Zanus first. Obviously. It is forbidden for what? For a northern to leave the walls without a what? Without a good reason, obviously. So in Zanus, nobody is allowed to leave the walls because it's dangerous, obviously, unless they have a good reason. So let's say, for example, if the Xanus are going to war against the wolves, then the guards allow them to leave the walls, obviously. Whereas it is forbidden for a northern to leave the walls without a good reason. Even if you're from the royal bloodline, they forbid you to leave the walls because it's dangerous beyond the walls, unless for good reason. So if these northerns are going to war against the wolves, then they obviously allow them to leave the walls. But other than that, it is forbidden for a northern to leave the walls without a good reason. Ivan, it's forbidden for a northern to leave the walls. How the heck does Patrice leave the walls at the end of volume 1? Again, I don't want to spoil so for you. You'll find out that when you read the book, obviously. So pretty much Patrice, when he leaves the walls in volume 1, I won't spoil so for you. He ends up breaking the law, and then that leads to what? That leads into the plot of Tacitus and Cassius, obviously. I don't want to spoil so for you. So Patrice pretty much ends up breaking the law in the end of volume 1. He ends up leaving the walls, and that's when the journey begins, obviously. So for pretty much all of Tacitus' life, Tacitus has never been outside the walls his whole life. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil so for you. He's never been outside the walls of Zanus, and it is forbidden for a northern to leave the walls without a good reason. And Tacitus ends up leaving the walls. I don't want to spoil the story for you why he leaves the walls. You find out anyway that when you read the book, obviously. Right, I'll say this. It is forbidden for a woman to fight in Zanus. For a woman to fight in Zanus. It's forbidden. It is forbidden for the woman to fight. The women are not allowed to fight in Zanus, obviously. So let's talk about laws. So in Zanus, it is forbidden for a northern to leave the walls without a good reason. It is forbidden for the woman to fight, obviously. It is forbidden for the woman to fight as well. And that's the law of Zanus, obviously. There's a few laws. That's a law. Obviously. So pretty much in Zanus, nobody is allowed to leave the walls without a good reason. Tacitus ends up breaking the law. He ends up leaving the walls, obviously. I don't suppose so. You'll find out when you read the book. and it is forbidden for the woman to fight in war. The women are not allowed to fight in Zanus. Let's talk about Saphius. Let's talk about the dungeon. Obviously, let's talk about what the dungeon. So, let's talk about law of what. I'll say this. For Saphius, obviously. Remember, I suppose Saphius was a U or an A, right? In Saphius, thieves, robbers, imposters, obviously. So thieves, robbers, imposters are thrown in a dungeon. You'll find out how powerful Eli is in tactical. Are thrown in a dungeon. So in Saphius, thieves, robbers. I'll say this. The bell law. The bell law, obviously. Obviously, right? I'll say this. A bell is sounded when what? A bell, in Saphius you have something called the bell law, right? The bell law, whatever it is. Whenever a bell is sounded in Saphius, it's sounded when thieves, robbers, imposters are thrown in. When thieves, robbers, imposters are proven guilty and they are thrown in a dungeon. So if you're a thief, a robber, or an imposter, if Eli finds out you're a thief, a robber, imposter, that victim obviously is thrown in a dungeon. What do you mean throw in a dungeon? You'll follow me with that when you read volume 2. You get a lot of politics. That's why you can argue volume 2 is the best one, obviously. So a bell is sounded in Saphius when thieves, robbers, imposters. So someone steals or is an imposter, a fake identity. They're thrown in a dungeon in Saphius, obviously. In Saphius. You'll find with that with Tachys and Papyrus. I don't want to spoil sword for you. You'll find with that when you read volume 2. Obviously. That is how what? That is how powerful Eli is, obviously. I'll say this. You will find out how powerful Eli is. Obviously. You will, right? You will find out how powerful Eli is politically, obviously. How powerful Eli is politically, obviously. In what? In the Tachys or clone. What do you mean Tachys or clones? You'll find out that when you read the book. Remember what I said. All thieves, robbers, or imposters, or if you have a fake identity, are thrown in dungeon Saphius. A bell is sounded every time what? Every time someone's proven guilty. Someone's thought guilty, obviously. He's a thief, robber, and imposter. They are thrown in dungeon Saphius. And you will find out how powerful Eli is politically in what? In the book, obviously. That's a lot in Zanus. Whenever someone's a thief, a robber, imposters, there's a bell that sounds in Saphius, and all of Saphius knows. And if the guy's a thief, a robber, imposter, he's thrown in a dungeon, and he or she can even be put to death. He or she can even be put to death, man. Put to death. You'll find out what I mean with that when you read what? Volume 2, obviously. You'll find out what I mean with that with Tachys, Papyrus, and Sirius and all them. That's why you're looking at the best story ever told, man. You'll find out how powerful. You will find out. So not only is Eli rich, he's very powerful, obviously. You'll find out how powerful Eli is politically in the book, as all the thieves, robbers, and imposters are thrown in a dungeon in Saphius, and he or she can even be put to death. And whenever they're thrown in a dungeon, a bell is sounded all throughout Saphius. That way, all of Saphius knows that a thief, robber, or imposter has been thrown in a dungeon. Obviously. And that's why for Zanus, look at the best story ever told, man. Look at something unheard of for what? For my story, man. And that's why it's the best story ever told. I'm thinking I should end the video here. Like, there's nothing else. I can babble on for another 30 minutes, but I don't know what else to talk about. I pretty much covered everything in my book. There's not one thing I have not covered, obviously. Right? What else is there to talk about? I'm trying to think here. I think I'm just gonna end the video here, man. Because there's not that much to talk about for what? Because I pretty much covered everything for Zanus. There's not that much to talk about for what? I pretty much covered everything you can. You guys already know how I already gave an in-depth study of my books. You guys already know about my book, obviously. I mentioned the Force of Galathea, the Valley of the Dark, Aratat, Defias, Ephesus. Oh yeah, I remember this now. The sun moves faster in the south. The sun moves faster in the south, but moves slower in the north. So the south, it gets darker faster. So the sun moves faster in the south, but moves slower in the north. Ivan, how's that possible? Well, again, it's a fantasy world, obviously. The magic of the ancestors, obviously. The magic of the ancestors. Ivan, what do you mean the magic of the ancestors? I don't want to spoil story. It's the magic of the ancestors, obviously. The magic of the ancestors of what? The north and south, obviously. So the sun moves faster in the south, but moves slower in the north. It is the magic of the ancestors. And don't forget, the reason why the sun moves faster in the south, the reason why the south it gets darker faster, is what? The sun moves faster in the south because the south is cursed, obviously. Remember that. The south is cursed. Hence why the sun moves faster in the south, because the south is cursed, obviously. Whereas the sun moves slower in the north, but it moves faster in the south because the south is cursed. I'm going to show my camera here.